Yeah, so this fight is obviously very one-sided. Taejin is a character that we're not really sure of the exact strength of. The only fight we really saw this guy in, he won with very low difficulty, and we also saw him fending off some of Tom Lee's attacks. On the other hand, Jerry did lose to Warren, so yeah, I think Taejin takes this pretty clearly.
Right, I agree with that. Jerry's kind of just like not very good right now. He's always kind of just been in Jake's shadow, so that seems pretty fair. I guess we can just say Taejin moves on. For our next matchup, got a bit of a fun one. Logan Lee versus Mary Kim. I'm gonna be honest, I might have to give it to Mary, just cause like, you know, she's on the same level as Vin in terms of grappling, and Vin is basically like the peak of grappling within Lookism besides like Seongji and the Kojimas. He's basically like the best grappler in the second gen, cause of his judo and his Sisirium. And Mary was basically always beating up Vigin in judo, as it was stated. But then again, Logan Lee was also like able to react to the allies' attacks, and even Zach had like noted that Logan Lee had gotten like much stronger than the last time they saw him, so Logan Lee might also take it. What do you think, Abood?
So my take on this is pretty similar to yours. I do agree. I would give it to Prime Mary because she was pretty much obese. However, Mary, as of right now, ever since the Qianliang events took place, we haven't seen much from her, only bits here and there from hundreds of chapters ago, and therefore I think it's fair to give it to Logan based off recent feats and durability.
Right, yeah, so Logan moves on. We have Vigin versus Jay. I guess I can like start with this one. Vigin's kind of weird now because he lost to Taejin like badly, but then we find out that like he's the son of Mujin, and I guess when he's like enraged he gets like a huge amp. Jay on the other hand, the only thing he has going for him is beating Jihan or Jihan, one of Ji Chang's little brothers, with his weapons. I heard a really interesting argument from Tekadon a while back. He was basically arguing that Jay had like the highest attack speed, since I think like Sistema's attack speed is like 250 kilometers per hour or something like that, and he was arguing basically that if you were to give Jay swords, and since he has like the highest attack speed with his Kali, he'd basically just be cutting everybody up at like mad high speeds. But disregarding that, and you know, disregarding the science around it, I'd probably give it to Vigin, simply due to the fact that he was able to damage like Taejin, and Taejin is clashing with Tom Lee, so that's why I'll probably say that Vigin takes it.
Yeah, so I pretty much agree with you on the Jay versus Vigin take. As you said, we've only seen Jay beat Jihan, which is the same guy that got one-shotted by Basement Hulk. However, Vigin has shown more on the other hand. Even though what he's shown isn't that great, which is him getting almost killed by Taejin, though he was able to pull off some attacks and actually deal some damage to the same guy that was fending off Tom Lee's attacks, and I just don't think Jay's gonna be able to pull that off.
You'd probably give this one to Zach, right?
Yeah, pretty much. We have seen Zach taking Mandiak's attacks in the past and he didn't seem too phased, so yeah, not much of a discussion.
Right, yeah. You could argue, you know, Mandiak was tired or whatever, but then we see Zach just completely body Johan, with the body of UI Daniel, and he's like surviving his attacks, and UI Daniel should definitely hit harder than Mandiak. Next, we have Samuel Seo versus G-Bum, I think his name is.
Yeah, of course, I'm gonna have to give this one to Jibyom.
What? Oh my god. So, I think it's pretty obvious. Jihan should take this, simply due to the fact that he's the little brother of the King Mogger, the king of looks maxing himself. Next fight we have...
Man, this bracket seems to be very biased, huh?
Yeah, I know. The whole thing was randomized, but you also got to think the people who win these fights are probably gonna be like the people who win these fights won for a reason. So at the end of the day, it's gonna be the strongest versus the strongest anyway. For now, we have Eli versus Daniel. Given, you know, Eli's performance against Basement Hulk, it kind of just trumps anything Big Daniel has going for him. If I'm being honest, Big Daniel kind of sucks right now. Like outside of UI, he's kind of bad. But then again, couldn't the argument be made that he can do anything little Daniel can do, but just better?
It wasn't the last time we saw Big Daniel in heat mode against Fucking Hudson.
Yeah, it was against Hudson. But I also feel like because he has the perfect body, anything Daniel in his original body has mastered, this Daniel can do better. This second Daniel can do better. Like, for example, what if he used James Lee mode in his second body, which is the perfect body? Like, would he be able to fully emulate James Lee, or like, you feel me?
I mean, I think it would be hard to fully emulate James Lee because of the whole invis attack thing being a main part of his arsenal.
Yeah, right. Because Daniel said it was tiring, but like what I'm saying is like how Daniel is able to copy James Lee in his original body, where he has like the whole James Lee mode that he used against Ji-Chang. What if he did that, but in his second body, which is perfect? Like, but since we don't know if Daniel can actually do that, I'm more inclined to give it to Eli, since Daniel's second body hasn't really shown anything impressive. Yeah, he lost to Jake Kim in the second affiliate, and then he got kidnapped, and we never saw him fight again.
Yeah, agreed. And I also think it's important to note that PTJ likes to draw second body Daniel in UI, as it's pretty much his trump card, and throughout the majority of the first affiliate he was in UI, so his experience outside of UI when he's actually conscious and controlling his own body is slightly limited and outdated.
Right. But then again, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm pretty sure we've seen him use like Sophia techniques that he learned in his original body in his second body. So that kind of like makes me want to think he could possibly use like the James Lee mode in his second body and just use it like at a way higher level. So if Daniel can use James Lee mode in his second body, then I think we might have to give it to him just because of like the sheer speed.
Yeah, Eli might not be able to react, unfortunately.
Right, so then to avoid the hate comments, we'll give it to Eli. What's your take on this?
Alright, so before I say my take on this, I just want to ask, if little Daniel were to go into UI and fought Zack, what do you think would happen?
I'd probably give it to Zack if I'm being honest with you.
Because I was gonna say if you would give this to little Daniel, then I'd immediately give Warren the L, but now that you say that, it's a bit different.
Right, I wouldn't give it to little Daniel because of like his body, you know?
I mean, in my opinion, I don't think Warren could take little Daniel just yet because of the whole copying gun and James Lee thing. Also, he was kind of putting up a fight against Ji-Chang, so...
Right, Daniel kind of just has a lot more going for him than Warren, so... I'm starting to think this is a little one-sided, but do we really need to say much here? Xiaolong's kind of interesting because of like, I don't know, like his weapon is pretty cool.
So to put this in baby terms, Logan Lee would get his ass delivered straight to his doorstep with a diaper wrapped around it. Yeah, pretty much when I look at a 1v1 like this, my mind immediately goes to the allied rankings, in which I don't have Vigin over Zack. So yeah, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. His durability is kind of just too high. And then, you know, even if he didn't have his durability, the Gong Seop G counter exists for a reason. So Zack takes it. Damn. My boy. I love Samuel. Oh my god. I don't know. Because I feel like a good case can be made for Samuel winning this, yeah. So Ryuhei in the Hunt for Big Deal basically pulled up to the fight and he fought with Gun, right? And he was kind of like smashing him around, and then Gun started hitting him back, and then Ryuhei got stronger with Commando. He got stronger and he came back, and a lot of people think that kind of like he could have like hurt Gun or whatever, but then they also make the argument that he just could have kept getting stronger. You know, unless you can basically knock him out in a single hit, Ryuhei will just keep getting stronger. Or like, unless you just don't let him get the chance to recuperate and get, you know, his amp going, then Ryuhei can just infinitely grow stronger. My problem with that is that if it's drug Samuel, he basically has the same ability. This Samuel was basically stated to be able to give Jin Young a problem. I think that alone kind of just like Ryuhei was basically just smacking around Gun with no effect. Like Gun wasn't damaged or anything like that. Gun was kind of just saying that he was the best one there out of everybody in the Hunt for Big Deal, which doesn't apply to Samuel because Samuel hadn't performed the feats that he performed now.
I do agree, but I'd have to ask, you did say that Ryuhei's fighting prowess relies on him adapting to his opponent, and we do kinda know that Samuel is one that likes to take his time a bit when he's drugged, because he goes insane and begins torturing his opponent.
I mean, true, but then again, Ryuhei has like a kind of like more tame fighting style, but with Samuel's fighting style, like he fights more deadly. Like we saw he was ripping cords out of the wall, he was hanging Jake up, like actually trying to like kill him.
The way I look at this fight might be a little bit of meta-scaling, but I feel like since we barely gave Eli the edge over Heat Mode Big Daniel, I don't think he's taking UI Little Daniel, who was able to fight against Big Daniel in UI.
Yeah, and since like UI Little Daniel and UI Big Daniel are kind of like two different realms of fighters, you know, we could probably include Little UI Daniel and it would be more fair than including UI Daniel. So you said that you'd give it to Little Daniel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably give it to him too. Okay, so you know this fight already happened, obviously. However, I still would probably give it to Johan.
I think it only makes sense as a matter of fact. We've seen jack shit from Yus Young ever since the hunt for Big Deal, but Johan has shown a lot on the other hand.
It's interesting because, I don't know, Yusung was a little too close to surviving that 10 seconds. And then we saw that he literally got right back up, but he just couldn't fight. But he was still able to, like, intercept CQC Johan's attacks. But then again, difference in physicality, so I would probably give it to UI Johan. What is this, like semi-final or quarter-final or whatever the fuck? See, a part of me wants to give it to Taejin and a part of me wants to give it to Zach. Gongseop G counters all. So I kind of want to go with the Zach. At the same time, going blow for blow with Tom Lee is kind of crazy.
Here's the thing though, I feel like Johan, as a fighter, would have been able to do just as well against Tom Lee as Taejin did. And if Zach was able to take Johan down with G counter, then I doubt he'd have trouble with Taejin.
Right, that is a fair point. But yeah, I don't know. That seems like a fair point. Okay, let's give it to Zach. Alright, I don't even think this is really a discussion. Samuel kind of takes this one easily. Even with like Little UI Daniel, I just don't think Little UI can take him out. Because we got to remember, his mastery, it was like the durability mastery. I meant the durability. Oh yeah, durability. I don't know why I thought I was saying that wrong. And then he gets stronger progressively.
The way I see this is that if we take a look at Samuel's fight with Jake, we see that he was pretty much cooking his opponent for the entire fight until he pulled his own form of G counter, which is his dad's genes, being top one of the verse obviously. So I guess we could trace a pattern where Samuel would probably take the fight, since Little Daniel doesn't really have anything like that.
I mean, you could argue UI Little Daniel would rise to Samuel's level as Samuel got worse and worse, but Samuel kind of takes this. I personally think that if it's the awakening Jake Kim that fought Samuel and, you know, fought Jin Young, like, I feel like if it's that awakening Jake, I feel like Jake might actually be able to survive the 10 seconds. Like, I feel like that's what the narrative is trying to portray, where they're trying to make it so, like, Jake is, like, Gaprion in the sense where, like, Gaprion can't lose because he has to save his crew, you know?
Yeah, I feel like it sounds more plausible for Jake to win this fight considering he has more plot armor than the main character.
I'm fine with giving this to Samuel just due to the fact that like they both have kind of like a resilience thing where like they're both really durable, but Samuel has like durability mastery. So I'm more inclined to say like Samuel, like because Samuel is like more of like a durability fiend than Zach is.
Fair point. I was gonna give this to Zach at first, not gonna lie.
Why?
Because the way I look at it, which is a very copious way I admit, but I feel like PTJ being PTJ, I don't see him giving Samuel the upper hand in durability when it's been hyped up to be Zach's strong suit, and he bases part of his personality around it.
I don't think he does. Like Samuel's kind of like a strength type. He even like his physique is big and bulky. And then even with like in the Basement Hulk fight, they were like, oh yeah, we need somebody who can take the hits and who's also like strong. And they all looked at Samuel. Zach on the other hand, Zach is more like, he's more like a, I feel like he's more of like a, it's kind of like more of like a.
So Jake Kim is really just the strongest second gen behind UI Daniel, eh?
Jake Kim is the strongest second gen? I'm not gonna lie, this was a fun video, but you know, all good things have to come to an end, so I guess we could say it's time for the outro. This was a video